Hey baby pippers, this is Raghee Horner, and I wanted to add a video to this commentary on crude oil because I want you to see a chart of it. I realize that not everybody has a chart accessible to, say, the full-size contract of crude oil or the Dow Jones futures or even the dollar index for that matter. Okay? And that was a lot of what this update that you see above this video, was really all about. If you happen to be catching this video on my YouTube channel, no sweat, head on over to Baby Pips and you can catch the update that I am referring to from today, August the 11th. So what's going on here? What is it that the market is doing? I mean, I've heard the dollar index being described as schizophrenic, and it's been doing this sideways back and forth type thing for some time. It's just that right now it's almost bundled up into a fist. It really isn't going anywhere, and every day we seem to be having sharp moves higher or lower. Now, what does that do in terms of commodity prices? Because we've got to gauge the dollar index by which, in a way that we understand that that's the manner in which we're looking at the value of commodities. Okay, if the dollar is higher, it has more purchasing power, and therefore the prices of commodities go lower. So what happens when the dollar goes lower like it did today? Okay, so let's take a look at that daily chart of the dollar. In fact, I'll take a look at it intraday as well. When we have the dollar index doing what we're seeing today, like it did today, moving a little bit lower, actually just kind of all over the place, but moving a little bit lower, what you'll notice is that commodities get a boost, and usually the lower dollar is reflective of what? Usually risk appetite. So we're going to in turn see oftentimes strength in equities. Now, up 423 points is not exactly a normal day, although what's normal lately, right? I kind of take this talk outside of what we've seen the last handful of sessions. So typically a weaker dollar is going to be reflective of risk appetite, and risk appetite benefits the Dow, and when people are feeling positive about the economy and growth and so forth, that also benefits commodities like crude oil, which I, in this update, described as the king of commodities. Okay, so how does crude oil relate back to some of the pairs? Well, let's take a look at some overlaps here. So I'll take a look at crude. And by the way, I'm going to actually jump on over to the actual symbol that I trade, because I like to trade the electronic mini of crude, which basically reflects what you're seeing here on the full size. And let's go ahead and take a look at crude versus the Canadian dollar, or the US dollar Canadian dollar pair. So what you'll see here is crude in the grab candles, and I'll go ahead and just put the Canadian dollar in more traditional candlesticks. In fact, it might even be easier for me to go with black and white. How's that? It might even look even better. Okay, so traditional Japanese black and white candlesticks. So take a peek at the relationship. You see it's more or less fairly inverse, and the reason, of course, being that when crude oil is going up higher, the loonie itself is able to strengthen, and therefore it gains on the US dollar, and it moves the chart of the pair lower. How about the Aussie? How about the crude oil market and the Aussie dollar? So let's take a peek. So I'll type in the US dollar, Australian dollar, and we'll take a look at that relationship. Now you see that's more of a correlated, sympathetic relationship versus the inverse relationship we just saw between crude and the dollar loonie. The Aussie US dollar, the reason this is moving up higher is why? Stronger crude, typically reflective of stronger commodities in general. The Aussie dollar gains on the US dollar. And again, remember, why is crude typically rallying? The dollar's either weaker or the Dow's strong, and sometimes both of those things are happening at the same time. And that's like a double 1-2 punch for crude, and up it goes. The Australian dollar gains on the US dollar, and you get that sympathetic relationship. You can say the same thing to a certain degree of the Kiwi as well. So I want you to get an idea of what it is I'm looking at when I'm looking at these charts of what I call my Forex market pulse. And we could do the same thing with the US dollar, but perhaps I'll leave that to another update. But the same conversation can be had with the dollar and all the pairs. What's the relationship? And I think this is, and the reason I think this is really important, other than just kind of putting up a whole bunch of charts here in front of you. I mean, that's not my goal, just to throw some charts up in front of you. What my goal is for you to understand that dollar, Dow, crude, gold, and commodities in general will give you a better idea as to whether or not the dollar is going to gain on any particular currency, whether that other currency like the loonie or the Aussie or the Kiwi is going to lose ground against the dollar, and the reasoning why, so you kind of get an idea of the driver. Because think about it, we're trading the stock of a country. That's what a currency is. And the things that they export, the things that they import, the value of these things will have an impact on the economy. Okay, and that's why we look at these Forex market pulse charts. All right, and lately, again, it's all the more important than ever to look at these things as I think about the craziness that we've been watching the last few days. And I can't help but think about baby monkey riding backwards on a pig. That is awesome, and that is what the markets have been doing these last few days. So on that high note, I leave you. Have a great trading day.